Listeners of the TRON Podcast, the randomness of nothing in 2026. As always, we are bringing interesting people, entrepreneurs, business owners, and people from walks of life that have made it and are willing to share their stories of success with others. This person is the epitome of that, and I'm very grateful for her time that she's carved out for the show. Anca Platon Trifan, thank you very much out of Boise, Idaho.
Right. Thank you, Rashad, out of Detroit. Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. You know, you have one of the more interesting backgrounds that I've had a chance to interview because you're big on AI, automation, technology, and that's your wheelhouse. However, being said, we'll get to that afterwards. You also do events, your own podcast. How you find all this time is nuts. And then
you missed the part where I'm a competitive bodybuilder.
I was literally saying
also training for an Ironman because how would I not?
I could not, all of a sudden I'm like, but of course, you start reading and then you're like, but of course, right? And I'm not image conscious and I'm like, yeah, I got I got my gym membership, I got my weight set in my house. And then all of a sudden I see what you do and I'm like, well, damn. You know what I mean? No excuses. With that being said, please tell me about yourself and thank you for being on.
Absolutely. Well, I'll give you just a little bit of background on me for anyone that's listening. First, thanks for having me in. Yes. I'm excited to just share my story. And the purpose of me sharing the story is just to, encourage someone that wherever they are and their stage, maybe they need that kind of a little extra motivation to do the best with what they have for this one life that we all get.
Absolutely.
For me, every time I see an older couple out there, I always ask myself, I'm wondering if they have any regrets. I'm wondering as they look back at their life, do they feel like they gave it everything? Do they have any regrets that they should have done more of this or that? Right. And I don't want to be the person that I get to an old age and I hold regrets in my heart or resentments, or I should have done this or should have done that, or I didn't find enough time to do the things that I'm passionate about.
Yes.
So that being said, as you said, I'm Anca Platon Trifan. I'm an immigrant entrepreneur. Came out of Romania 20-something years ago. Beautiful. Founded my current agency, TRON Productions. So I'm the founder and CEO of that. I'm also a competitive bodybuilder and a leading AI strategist in the global event industry. And I want to set that baseline because yes, I do operate in this business world, but I also my space, my playground is the global event industry.
Yes.
So way back when, right out of college, I graduated in computer science. I didn't want to do computer science. What I wanted to do was I wanted to do AV production. And actually I was working in radio through high school and college, and I fell in love with sound engineering while I was doing that.
Oh, wow.
So it's funny because many years later, I'm wondering, hey, how come I don't have a podcast? Because I loved radio, you know? So sure enough, I started my own podcast in 2019.
Wonderful.
But, and I wanted to do a video podcast because everybody was doing audio podcasts. I'm like, no, I want to do video. And sure enough, it paid off well because now everybody wants to do video, right?
Curve, right?
Go back, 6-7 years ago, everybody was just audio. So you get to set yourself, differentiate yourself from everyone else if you do dare to be a little bit different. And being different can look in different way for different people. Right. So for me, that means doing the things that I'm passionate about because there's only one of me and I'm definitely going to leverage that. So I spent about 20 years in live event production. I've done fashion shows, I've done celebrity shows, I mixed for Michael Jackson, I've mixed for Linkin Park and Fergie and all the celebrities that you can think of that would just have a random concert in LA. We would be the production house doing that. Little John and Snoop Dogg. I mean, I was holding Snoop Dogg's microphone with the Snoop Dogg. It was just hilarious. I have such fun memories during that time. And that's basically me living the dream that I wanted to live, like not just imagining it, but putting it into action. And what that looked like was literally coming to US with one suitcase and $100 in my pocket. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have a safety net. I had no connections, but I knew that I had a will and I knew that I have really good work ethic. And if I got my foot in the door just in the right place, I knew I can work my way up from from the ground
Right.
up. So that's what I did. You know, when I first got in AV production, like who'd hire a 5'2", girl to move, subwoofers and huge PA boxes? Nobody would. But I said, hey, I can fix your computers. I know a thing or two about computers. Just teach me everything there is to learn about audio engineering, about lighting, about video production. And so that's what I did. Got in LA, and I met this production gentleman that owned a production house. To this day, best friend. He's been a mentor to me for 22 years now. And even now, like, we text and we collaborate and we work on events together. So two things here, right? One, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to leverage what you have.
Right.
Like, I might not have this knowledge, expensive knowledge of AV production, but I knew that I knew something, right? And I could leverage that. Two, there's always going to be important people in your life, and you need to prize that. Mentors are so important. And if you find a good mentor, like, be good to them and be a good mentor to others in return as well. So that's kind of like been my, history getting into production. And then I went to school from there, and I started working like hands-on, a lot of those shows. Yes, there's also the other side of that. Burnout is real. So after about 8 years of like nonstop, I mean, when I say nonstop, when you work in live event production, you work 18-hour days. There's constant turnover, and there's no breaks. Like 7 days a week, you don't get a break, right? So like when I had half a day, I would literally just go to the beach to sit and just take in the sun, because I had nothing left in the tank, but that's how you earn this experience, and that's how you earn the knowledge. So I did that, but then eventually, I'm like 8 years into this lifestyle of like crazy lifestyle. My body did give up. Like, I had this meltdown of a body completely lying down on the, to this day, I remember it was Las Vegas Convention Center. We had this crazy show for one of the major fashion designer at the time, Cristiano 𝗪𝗓, the 𝗪𝗵𝗁. Cristiano 𝗪𝗓, rest in peace, because he's no longer with us. And we were setting up this huge trade show for him. And then the in-house, the union labor messed up our entire lighting grid. So we had to stay overnight to fix it, because they started in one end. And then if you need to know anything about event production and DMX, you have to run it back in the day. You had to run it in like continuous line. If for some reason you messed up somewhere, everything would just fall apart. So that's what they did. They kind of like went in this direction. They took a break, and then they forgot which direction they started, and they started going in the other direction. And our entire DMX grid was like a meltdown. So we worked around the clock for like 32 hours to get that show going. I mean, the show must go on, right? So I remember thinking to myself, as I'm lying on the floor, wanting to move, but not being able to, like when your body doesn't move and you're like, I'm willing it to move, but it doesn't, that is like one of those,
wake up calls.
Come to Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Like, if I don't stop this lifestyle, I'm going to put myself into the ground. This cannot go on forever. So that was kind of like my reality to, hey, I gotta find a different place in this industry, but it's not so demanding. I'm also a workaholic. I keep saying I'm a recovering workaholic. So it's also on me, right? I have to take responsibility for the things that I know that they're on me. Nobody forced me to work around the clock. Nobody tells you have to work. Like, you're not a slave. But also, if you're a workaholic, you kind of are a slave to yourself.
But you have to, what the thing is about it though, is, you're a competitive bodybuilder. I do martial arts, right? So I have a black belt in Tong Soo Do, I have a brown belt in Taekwondo, and I do Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. For full disclosure, I'm not a fighter. I'm not the best guy on the planet that's ever practiced martial arts, right? But, I can say that I do those things. And if you don't, but anybody who's trained, whether it's in your field or in martial arts, there's a wall, and you can try to admit that there's not a wall, but I've trained, multiple days in a row, and there will be a point where you're like, you know what, I need 2 days out of here.
That's why recovery is so important, right? Like to build anything to grow, you need recovery. Yes. Well, at the time, I didn't quite understand the importance of that, right? So you learn through hard lessons.
And nobody's gonna like pull you off to the side and be like, hey, you may need to take this time off to actually. You're just gonna have to basically.
And you might have people in your life that are aware enough to say, and I think that's why a lot of the workplace wellness now does put the responsibility not just on the employee, but also on the leader, right? Like on the employer to analyze, okay, this workforce that I have working for me, they've been going nonstop, like taking overtime all the time. Like there has to be a boundary where you have to step in and say, you need to take a day off, you need to rest, right? But back in the days, again, we're talking about like working your way through and pushing hard. And I'm not someone to be shy of pushing hard. Like I had to tell my husband this for him, like to understand, like when I come to a point where I said I've had enough and this is hard for me, that the baseline is that's 100 times hard for the average person. You have to understand that I don't push myself to that point unless I really, really am to the very edge of my like ability, of my capacity. So I've learned that, okay, I need to figure out what does boundaries look like, especially in a work environment, especially for someone that's a go-getter, someone that's ambitious, someone that has dreams, and someone that knows that can do those things and is able to push herself that hard, but still there has to be some kind of a balance, work-life balance. I always kid about that. That's not real, right? So then you have to figure out what the integration of that is, like how do you integrate your life with your work, with your friends, with your family, with your passion, with the things that you want to do in life, right? So for me, that meant moving out of LA, moving to Portland, Oregon, moving into corporate events, into more of a, I would say, higher end production level where you weren't the rookie pushing the the boxes into the truck and then pushing them into the venue, all of that. Like you had a team of people that was doing that. I was at this point a lead, a technical event planner, and I was more of the interface with the client. And I would put myself in tech roles based on need, based on what I wanted to do. So that kind of started giving me more of a break, more of a breather, right? Like, so I can actually dream beyond just doing the work, but also wanting to build beyond that, like having people work for me so I can build this business, so I can go farther, right? Because what do they say? Like, if you want to go fast, definitely go alone. But if you want to go far, you need people. You need someone to be coming along with you. And I move really, really fast. And one of my biggest frustrations as an entrepreneur is that it's hard to find people that move just as fast and hard as me. So I had to like figure out and learn. And that's where like I came up with this framework that really, really pretty much puts on the map the things that I am most passionate about, the things that I have worked on in my life, and the things that I feel like they're really important pillars for anyone to ace. And that for me is physical fitness, mental fitness, emotional fitness, and spiritual fitness. Having all this four as a pillar is kind of like a table with four legs, right? Like it really keeps you going. It helps you get to the highest of your capacity, but you have to understand that those things have to work together. If one falters, like it's like you lost the leg. And it's kind of like your table starts like wobbling, right? So for me, that was a journey. It wasn't like automatically I started getting really good at those things. No, I had to work on my mindset. But then I knew, now that I had the framework, what are the things that I need to focus on so I can achieve this wholeness? A person that is secure in herself, someone that doesn't care about what the other people are doing, because I know what I'm good at. I know which direction I want to go. I don't need someone's opinion or,
you need affirmation. You don't need affirmation. You don't need affirmation like that.
No, exactly. So that has been the process of first getting my physical fitness in check, and then my emotional fitness. That's like the hidden thing that a lot of people, they don't really, understand. They're like just all over the place, but they don't understand how much anxiety and stress and things and depression and all those underlying things that they're not wanting to deal with, how it's impacting their output, how it's impacting their everyday, right? So that was a big one, especially over COVID, to have to take it head on and work on it, and go and go to therapy and unearth all those whatever childhood trauma that you've been hiding, or you have to be, you have to figure out how that's affecting your everyday life. And then mental, right? Like mental fitness, I think for me, physical and mental fitness have worked hand in hand, because as you said, if you are a competitor or an athlete or anything that requires not just physical grit and strength, but that mindset of like not quitting when it's hard, it's going to change you forever. The work is not just the physical work. That's just the output. It's what people see. The work is when you push through hard and you know that you're seeing white stars as you're doing your lifts, but you keep going. You know you're going to get it done, even if it's hard. That is something that I don't think I could have learned unless I put myself through bodybuilding and through pushing through, pushing my own limits, right? Like I'm bringing my son, he's 13 now. I'm bringing him to my basically 2026 resolution has been to take him to the gym with me. And even though he is like, I want to be on the couch, playing video games. I'm like, no, you're coming with me and we're going to work together twice a week. And I'm actually paying a coach for him. So I don't have to be the mom telling him how to do things. Somebody else can do that. So I can still be somewhat of a friend as I'm coaching him too, but that's important to me because I want him to maybe not love bodybuilding like I do, but understand the strength and the confidence that you get the moment you realize that you're capable of so much more, and so those 4 things, that's my framework that I do everything in life. And it does, but I think everybody has to figure out for themselves what is the strategy that you need to apply to your own life to help you operate at the best of your capacity, and what are the steps that you need to take to do there. Too many people are so, I'm gonna say it out loud, lazy. They're lazy because lazy is easy.
It is.
Being comfortable, it is easy. Achieving something, pushing beyond your capacity, that takes grit, that takes hustle, that takes, patience. And most people, they just want to come home, from work and go and decompress. See, I get that, but at the same time, I know that there's goals I want to achieve and there's milestones. That's another thing for me, is because I'm such a performance-based person. I like to set milestones. I like to set goals. I like to keep myself accountable. It's not about motivation for me. It's never been. It's about discipline. I said I would do it, and so I will. I promised myself that I'll go to the gym today, and it's 9 p.m. I will go. Those are the decisions that you get to have. That's your agency. It's your own agency to make those decisions for yourself and then stick to them. Because if you don't have the structure, if you don't have the discipline, if you don't have the systems, then what is it that you have?
Then you're sitting on the couch wishing for a break.
Or you're just wishing you had more time, like Anca has, because somehow I have more than 24 hours in the day
than everybody else
to do everything,
Well, that's, and so, what I find fascinating is, I had to get out of my own head, even to degrees on a smaller scale when it came to this podcast, because oftentimes you'll have those doubts, and you'll sit back and say, man, I should start that. I should start that. And then finally something clicks in your head where it says, I haven't. Why not? You're sitting here doing nothing. Do it or shut up about it. That's really what it boils. Because if you're not, sometimes people can think that they can manifest something just by thinking about it. Right. And we talked before the show is that it's better to have a minimum viable product, right? It's okay to start the podcast in your basement with a crappy background and a crappy microphone and terrible. It's okay, right? There's nothing inherently wrong with that.
Rashad, I cringe when I go back to my first few episodes in my first season. Like I cringe because even though I come from, production, from AV production, I still was that person like with a crappy microphone and lighting was whatever. And it wasn't even that, it was my voice. I was like cringing at my voice and all the filler words that I still have plenty of, but at this point I'm like, whatever. All those things that are absolutely mind stoppers. But that's why I go to that mental fitness, the mindset, the goals, the resilience that you build by doing it and by not comparing yourself to everyone else, because my 200 and something episode is not going to look like your first or second or third episode. Obviously.
Right.
But for you to get there, like you have to keep doing it, because I promise you, if you will, eventually you will get to your 200 episode and say, oh my gosh, first, I can't believe that I stuck with it for this long. 2, look how far I've come. Like 3, also the experience that you've gained, the conversations that you've had, the friendships that you made, so many doors, actually talking about podcasting, right, have opened for me through the podcast. Doors I could have not had access to. Podcasting is the one medium that, because by default you are creating this platform for people to share their voice, you can have conversations with CEOs of Fortune 500 companies that otherwise you would never dare to go and knock at their door and be like, hey, can I talk to you?
It's so funny you say that, because I'll after like somebody will email me and I'm like, is this person really emailing me? Like you have to do like a double take. Like, we're really having a conversation. You have all these other things on your plate. You have all these accolades and accomplishments next to your name, and you want to take an hour, 45 minutes to talk to me. Like it doesn't seem real. And to your point,
podcasting is an equalizer, and I love that.
It has democratized a lot of it's open. Where people say, oh, there's barriers. I can't get to this person. Yeah, if you have something that they're fascinated about, you can do it. And
if you provide them the platform to talk about things that they're passionate about, I don't know one person, I don't have one person turn me down to say, no, I'm not going to do it, I'm too busy. Unless for some reason they're so tied into maybe like marketing, political NDAs and other things that they don't even make a decision for themselves. Where do they go on the map to talk about the product or their personhood, So that's a different story, right? We're already talking about really, really high up there people. Like I wouldn't go to, the president and be like, hey, can you be on my podcast? Because his entire team would have to first agree that that's even a good idea in the first place.
There's levels that's going to go through the communications rep. There's stages, right? As opposed to like, somebody could say, hey, somebody has a cooking podcast and there could be a high level, there could be a CEO of major companies. Oh man, I love cooking. I want to be on that.
Right. Be like, no, but it's not a good image for you. So we're not going to allow you to go and do that because we want people to think of you as this persona, right? So that being said, like going back to what we were talking about, I think it's, for me, that comes down to individual responsibility and agency to be able to say to yourself, first ask yourself, like, what are the things that I always wanted to do, but I just keep delaying them because life gets in the way, right? And then as you do this assessment, and let's be honest, like as we are aging and getting older, we're not getting any younger, right? Time starts like flying by faster as you age. Sure, in your 20s, you think you have your entire life, I would never go back to my 20s because I had to learn those lessons. The lessons that I learned in my 20s, good, but I don't want to be the 20-year-old self me. I want to be the 43-year-old self me that has learned so much and is so confident in herself and is so able to know and do things the way I do them now, because that's built me to be the person that I am all of those years, right? Yes, some people get to that maybe faster. I usually get there the hard way because I like to learn my lessons well. But I think it's also a matter of like realizing if you slave, for someone else, for a paycheck, what are the things that really, really you're passionate about that you could give some, some bandwidth to? Because those are the things that you will remember years from now. It's not, you're not going to remember, whatever salary, whatever, promotion, whatever things that you got. It's the things that you have invested yourself and you passionately went after. And that is, for me, what bodybuilding has done. That is why I'm doing an Ironman. And let me tell you, right now, swimming is humbling me. It's very cruel to an adult that didn't grow up with it. It really strips you of your most dominant tools, and I know I'm dominant in environments where effort equals outcome. But swimming is this environment where I'm putting myself through, where effort without technique basically equals punishment. Because you can breathe when you want, you can stop when you want, you can fake efficiency. The water just tells the truth, So as I'm going through this process of being new at something, it's really, really humbling. And for me, the baseline right now is exit the water with my systems intact and being calm. And that's it. I could fake fitness in the water and all that, but I cannot fake efficiency. I'm working on that. I'm working on the technique of how can I be more efficient? How can I be controlled? Because I know I'm conditioned. I know I have the muscle power to muscle through, but this is not about muscling through. This is about how can I be the most efficient in the water. And it's a learning experience for me. It's like very, very humbling. And it's interesting because as an adult, to put yourself back into a completely new place, to learn something new. A lot of people avoid that, like,
no question.
The play.
No question.
Because again, it goes back to how humbling is it to know that you're good at so many things, but you're just not good at this one thing.
It's tough, and so, it certainly takes a lot of ability to understand that I'm going to figure this out, and even if I get decidedly average at it, that's a win for myself, right? That's because I'm willing to,
like, for me, like, I just want to be that low drag object in the water.
And so obviously I want to talk about your AI, but just like me in jujitsu, right? Like, I came from karate, and so I'm doing jujitsu, and I get ragdolled in jujitsu, because anybody who's ever done martial arts, jujitsu is much different from a striking art, right? Like night and day. And so I tell myself, I said, if I can just get okay at this is going to be okay. If I'm a pretty good guy on my feet because I can navigate, I've done it for 20 plus years, but down there was brand new. I'm like, if I can just get to the point where I don't panic down there, and I've gotten to that point, even though I'm getting manhandled, but I'm like, I'm like, this is a win. This is a win. I'm going against guys who are blue belts and, higher belts. And they're like, dude, at least, hey, mission accomplished. You're much better on your feet. I'm like, dude, I said, that's a win for Rashad right here. Y'all did this for much longer than I have, and I am not anywhere close to where you are. And that's okay for me. I do have to ask you about your AI, because it's funny, whenever I talk to people who are afraid of technology, I always call them Luddites, right? And anybody who knows what a Luddite is the textile workers that tore the machines down in the 1800s in England. But you go all in on AI. And I loved your steps where you said there's 3 steps to it. I watched one of your speeches. There's traditional, which is where Amazon, you said, can find out what your shopping habits are and what you bought to get similar purchases. Then there's the second step, which is
the standard is that the Gen AI?
And then Agentic, and then there's the third one.
Which talk are we looking at? Was it the last one, the Expo?
Yes.
Expo? I'm wondering if that's
yes.
Yeah.
So, and then you said that basically eventually it gets to the third stage where it adjusts in real time. Can you dive into that real quick about what that means?
Yeah, so I think, first off, sometimes I have to actually ask myself this question when I speak in front of an audience, when I speak in front of a crowd. I always have to ask myself, what is their level that they're at, so that I can meet them there, because not everybody is moving at the same speed, and not everybody is using AI in the same capacity, right, that I am using. So it can be very interesting to speak in front of a crowd, talk about agentic AI, talk about the future, talking about all the systems, and then have people that the way they use ChatGPT is to create funny videos or images or like random stuff, or just ask it like a search tool, like a glorified Google search tool, when AI is so much more than that. But they, and there's actually a research that came out of just this last month in December, out of the major companies like Amazon and Google, where they are concerned that people, because obviously they run enough data on us of how we're using AI, they're concerned that people are using AI, the average person is using AI at the lowest possible entry point, and they're not realizing the capacity that AI has, especially in business environments. So there's this effort put into training teams to use AI for business, to use AI for beyond just Google searching, you know. And that's a good news for me, because I do a lot of workshops for small teams and at leadership levels to maximize the use of AI. And that is analytics, and that is for lead gen, and that is not just marketing and brainstorming and all that. And that's where Agentic AI comes into the conversation, because there's already the ability for you to take one idea that you have and create a tool that automatically does all the steps necessary to execute on with very little input. And I've already created agents that do different things for me. Like one of my agents, actually, because I am in the speaking world, is he researches all the conferences out there that have call for papers that are open, that are actually are then analyzed against my own database. And I have two databases that I keep. One is Notion and one is Google. And it would search my entire database, and then it will make a decision based on the criteria that I gave it, that based on your content, based on the things that you are passionate about, and the things that you've spoken about, the things that the feedback you received is really where it puts you, an expert in this category, then you have a high chance to apply for this conference that is looking for this type of presenter or this type of speaker. So all of that is done behind the scenes for me, because I created this agent that already analyzes the internet, the websites that I'm interested in, the topics that I want to speak on, my own database on what I have done in the past. And then it provides this weekly report with, hey, by the way, there's more call for papers that you can apply to, and even create the draft. It will go into my Notion database. I have a second database where I've already, basically, I just have to go and have the human review, right? Like where there's the conference, there's the contact, there is the topic, there is the description of the pitch that I'm going to send, the key takeaways, all the work that normally as a speaker, I will spend hours upon hours. And nobody pays you as a speaker to do that work, but you have to, because that's just part of hopefully getting this gig, and then hopefully getting paid for the gig, not just, free exposure, because we went through that. But then being able to maximize your expertise and being able to capitalize on it. So that's one simple agent that is taking off all this work that honestly in the past I had my assistants work on. And sometimes I would go back and be like, okay, I think I'm going to do this myself because it just don't get it. You don't get it. I don't understand why you don't get it, right? So now I have the ability to really be specific about the things that I care about and be specific within the agent, right? To give it the correct instructions. And it's funny because now, like Cloud Code, for example, you can go create those agents and it will go step by step, and then you have to approve the choices and the decisions that it makes. But once you have it trained and once it's set to go, then it's free to go and do the job. And yes, you can go and interfere if for some reason you're like, so those conferences that I'm getting, as a result, they're not really the type of conferences I want to go to. And then you have to be even more specific. That's why when I train people, especially newbies, on how to use AI, it's so important not just to know how to prompt, but to know how to communicate. I make this analogy where I tell my husband, it's like, can you get me that? Right. So I kind of point in the distance to this one thing that I already have in my mind, what I want, but he's going that direction and he doesn't see any of it. Like, and he brings me something completely different. And I'm like, how can you not know that this is not what I want? That other thing on the shelf is what I want. Right. So that goes back to communication. If anything, AI is teaching us how to be better communicator, because in order to get the output and the results that you want, and this applies not just to your Gen AI tools, like to get the right image, to get the right brainstorming material or the right SOP, to like, I write so much content, but it all starts with my original thoughts where I'm so specific. I mean, my prompts and I love that I can actually speak now into the tool versus having to type it all down, right?
Sure.
But my prompts are like pages long. And then all I needed to ask is like, to clean it up, to make it like to make it more concise, because usually I have more words that are necessary, right? And to also make it more attractive to this type of audience or this type of audience, or so that is the power of AI in just simple examples of, as a business owner, I do marketing, I do lead gen, I do all the things. I wear all the hats, right? I have to also get my financials in order. I have to analyze my spending. I have to figure out like, okay, what's our performance for next year? Where should we put more money towards versus, but if you don't have any understanding of any of that, because it's always in some really long spreadsheets or it's lost in between different accounts, this is the ability of Agentic AI to pull it all together
and make it easily readable.
Exactly. One place where that's the truth, that's the Bible, that's where you go to. And then even if you don't understand it, like I remember a couple of years ago, I needed to redo my website, and I'm like, okay, I could pay my, a web developer to do it, or I could literally screenshot the code and take it into, because I mean, yes, I learned, HTML and I learned C++, but it's like right now we're talking about so many other different programming languages, and take it to ChatGPT and just ask it, hey, what do I need to change in this code so that I get this outcome?
Correct.
And sure enough, I did that. Then I went to Google Analytics. For the longest time, I'm like, I stayed away from Google Analytics of what happens on my website because it's so many menus, so hard to understand. Like, what am I looking at here, right? And then I went spreadsheet by spreadsheet as I, report by report, and it finally made sense. Like, create the story behind all these numbers. Now, same thing applies to you, your business, the role that you have. Like, you have to explain to your executives, why did you spend so much money on whatever, marketing effort? And you're like, well, I have all those numbers, but those numbers don't tell the story. How about you create a narrative around it with the help of AI? All you have to do is like literally feeding all this data. And yes, there's also the concept of like, privacy and making sure that you don't just share, SPII information with all the tools out there. Like, you have to be aware there's also liability involved, and there's also, ethical AI. And yes, like there's definitely a level of understanding what's safe and what's not. Like, you're not putting your social security number on the internet. You shouldn't probably do the same thing, with your financial information in ChatGPT, because guess what? Or your medical records or whatever. I know people do that. I know they do that. So those are just simple things that will empower you to take, this AI tool that you have in your hand, that right now it's embedded into everything, like every single app that you have, and optimize it to your workflow, optimize it to what you do, what you need to do more. I love the fact that I have the ability to learn new things.
It's wonderful.
And
it's a beautiful thing.
And it provides you the step-by-step instruction. Yes, I could go on YouTube and teach myself anything. Like, this one bookshelf actually is the backdrop for my podcast, and nice reactions, but it's wall to wall, ceiling to floor. I built it myself with those two hands during COVID because I had too much time on my hand, first off. But secondly, because I wanted a bookshelf, and I'm like, and I'm shopping around and I'm looking, they're not the right size and they're just not the right fit. And I'm like, how hard can it be to build a bookshelf?
Absolutely.
About 300 trips at Home Depot later, we found out, but it's here, it's done.
Yeah, that's, and here's the reality. What was funny, and again, you tried, you made the most of the effort that you were willing to put into something. I thought what was interesting was what you said. You said AI doesn't fix chaos. If it's broken, if it's already broken, it's just going to break its scale. And I was like, you know what? That makes very good sense, because you're taking something that wasn't refined from a very small standpoint, and you're just, hey, just input this data and fix my problem and walk away from it.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to, like, if you have this messy spreadsheet and it's chaotic and your systems are all over the place. And this is very common, especially in the event space, where you have so much data that is so siloed on different platforms. Here's something in SharePoint, and here's something in Google Drive, and here's something in Dropbox, and here's something on cVent, and here's something in this other event platform that does your registration. But then there is the check-in, but then there is also the lead gen, but then there's also the follow-up, and then there's the straight show. They use a different app. The data is literally all over the map. So then you come at the end of, say, this one trade show that you did, and your executives are asking you, okay, so what's our ROI for having invested this much money to be there, for this team to be out of office, to do this? Like, what's our return on investment, right? And you're like, well, we have a few business cards. Right? No, that's not acceptable anymore.
No.
And that's where it goes down to, like, now it's your responsibility to not only organize your data so then AI can make sense of it, so then you can create this executive report and say, yes, when somebody enter our booth, we not only that we did, warm, cold, automatic selection on that lead, but we had immediate follow-up. If you're going to follow up with me 3 months after your trade show and tell me how we met, I don't know, somewhere in Houston, and I already been to like 70 other locations since then, because that's my life, I don't know where to place you. Like, what we talked about, like, don't do it.
Not even close.
So now we have the tools where you can do, mapping, and you can do emotional reading on who's there and what is their interest in your product. And all of that is done through the tools that we have. But again, that data that's being collected, what are you doing with it? Where is it living? How are you creating sense out of the chaos? And if everything is everywhere and there's absolutely no understanding of what your systems are, and even as a small business owner, I see this all the time, because you get business, if you're in the business, you want to make money, right? So then you just keep pushing to build your business. But then your systems behind you, they're like, you'll be surprised how many people, they do not have a book of how. How do we operate in this business? What is our mission? What are our values? What is our goal for next year, on 5 years, 10 years from now, right? People don't have time to sit in it and generate all of this. Right. You hire someone new, and now it takes you forever to onboard them because you don't have the paperwork or the processes or the training material. All of that is so easy now to create with AI. We create those PRD documents. Those are product request documents for any app that we put out. But it goes back to going to your tool, whatever tool you use, right? ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, I don't know, Grok, and explaining, this is what we want, this is our constraints, this is what we have, this is what we are hoping to achieve in the next month, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, whatever. And automatically creates this wonderful document that now you can take to your developers. They understand what you're trying to do, versus, every minute I'm changing my mind and every minute I'm changing the scope of work because something else comes to my mind that I'm thinking as I'm taking a shower in the morning, Same thing applies to your hiring talent. It's like, you have to start somewhere. If the only time you have is on your way to work and on that tool, and start speaking out loud. When we onboard someone, we want them to know those things.
Exactly.
We want them to understand that our customer is number one, and this is why. This is the history. And make this concise in a way that any new hire would understand and would apply as values as they start working for us. That's easy to do. Like, it's just people have to think beyond, like, how can I use AI today, right? Like, have to think beyond, oh yeah, I'm just going to take a picture of this. And then I'm actually, a lot of the things that I do, I would take a picture of somebody saying something, and I run really deep research. Like, I need evidence-based. So if you're just saying something, I need to know where that source is. I need to know where is it coming from. I need to know if it's valid. And somebody was posting actually online. I was in the middle right before we talked about generating a report of all those claims they were making. It's like the cost of AI. And they were talking about, there's obviously cost in water and power and labor and all the things. And it's very valid. Those are valid claims. However, are they all accurate? When you throw around billions of dollars, are those accurate numbers? Where do they come from, right? So I was going, I ran the whole research, and I was going link by link to make sure. And that's another thing with AI. It can also hallucinate a lot, and you have to be aware of that, right? You might run a report on something, and it's like, oh, that looks great. And then you realize that half of that is made up, or it's not accurate in any way, shape, or form. And now you just presented it to your leadership, and you're like, shoot, we didn't foolproof this. Don't be that person.
It's like people who are
it's much harder to have to go back and then earn credibility than just to do your research, just to make sure that it's accurate.
It's like the lawyers that are giving it as the defense to their client in court. You're like, seriously, dude? Like, really? You just chat GPT? Like, if you're going up for trial, then next your lawyer just chat GPT like your case, and it may be something.
It's like made up with this like fake testimonials.
Oh yeah, right. Like, a case that never existed online, and you're like, are you kidding me right now? Oh my.
No, it can so easily do that because again, I feel like it's actually gotten a little worse because I've used ChatGPT since it was like GPT-1, and I see how much it's changed, and sometimes it frustrates me. Like, it frustrates me that it's become more like pliable to the user's need. Like, it becomes way too agreeable, and I'm really mean with my ChatGPT. If it tries to parrot copy what I'm trying to get, I'm like, no, I don't need you to echo what I said. Like, that's not what I need you. I need you to be not the assistant that does everything that I say. I need you to challenge the things that I say. I need you to really, come back with me with evidence that maybe I'm not accurate in certain claims and certain things. Like, you need to be a partner to me, not like some low-level assistant that is just going to say everything I want to hear. I don't want that.
You're just a chia pet, right? You just add water and grow. That's all you are. You just add water and grow. Like, you're just doing it. Right, exactly.
Yeah, but going back to the types of AI, as you mentioned, right? So we had traditional AI, which was basically the analyst. That's where you had all these predictions and you had the patterns. A lot of it was in the Amazon shopping that we were doing for 20 years. Like, Amazon has used machine learning. The traditional AI for many, many years. Netflix, same. Apple, all the Apple products,
Absolutely.
right? And I think a lot of people, they're kind of stuck at this Gen AI, the creator, where, you just visualize, you brainstorm, you draft something, but then that's about it. It's kind of like, okay, so what else can I do with AI today? I'll create a funny video because now 𝗏𝗏 is so fun, or Nano Banana, it gives me really cool pictures, and that's great. I mean, seriously, that's great. Like, I would take a picture of my 8-year-old daughter drawing and put it through Nano Banana and create a visual for her, and she loves it. Like, we did this 2.5 years ago with Midjourney, where she had a dragon, and I turned this dragon into this amazing painting that she still has it on her wall, right? But it's more than that. Like, agentic AI, this is where people will really have to get to, and we will get to, because 2026 is all about.
Oh, no question.
That's the operator. That's what he acts, adapts, and it really performs. You just have to know, what do you want it to perform?
It's not going anywhere.
You have to stop and ask yourself.
And the genie's out of the bottle, certainly. And if if people are honest with themselves, you know, AI has always existed in some way, shape, or form. I'm a big History Channel buff, and you'll see that, you know, even some, you know, old Italian, you know, astronomers use tools to be able to tell time and things like that. And so it's always had some sort of automation. There was one in particular, I cannot remember where it was at, but it was basically like the first like robot, like people would put like to pour wine, right? Like, and it was like, but you know, there was robotics inside of it that basically when people wanted wine, it would like come up to this statue and then it would pour it, but they had the mechanics inside of it. So things have always existed in wild people, but it's the people who are willing to embrace things like that that have made, you know, the innovations possible in our society.
It made life easier in a way, right?
Yeah, exactly. I always ask every guest this, you know, where can people find you?
Well, I'm not hard to find.
Yes. Yeah.
But I do operate a lot of the thought leadership, a lot of the AI related content is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So if you look for me, Anca Platon Trifan on LinkedIn, that's where I am. My podcast is also everywhere, YouTube, Spotify, and all the other podcasting platforms, Advanced Demystified. And right now, season 11 is all about the CEO edition. So if you're a business owner, if you're a founder, if you're a CEO, and sometimes you feel lonely in this journey, because being a CEO can be a lonely journey. Only someone that's been through that truly understand what it's like, you know, like one day to be like on Mount Everest and the next day to pull your hair because you don't know how you're going to pay your bills, right? Yeah. So it's like this ongoing, like up and down over a roller coaster ride. So that is all about the story behind the brand, the story behind the CEO. And then Instagram is where I kind of share a little bit of my behind the scenes. Also, I have my fitness Instagram page where I kind of muscle through my workouts and definitely show off.
Well, no, you know, and listen, can we keep it a buck, you know, like 100? Let's be totally honest. If you have it and worked for it, you didn't just do it for yourself, right? Like, I don't, you know, and I'm just keeping it like, let's, you know, like I've had like if I have a black belt, like I make a point of emphasis to say this on this show. I don't, you know, not to like brag, not to like, you know, say that I'm special, but it's something I've accomplished. So if you do bodybuilding, like you're not going to be like, yeah, I bodybuild and don't post any pictures about it, right? Like, no, man, like, you worked hard. Like,
you're touching on a really interesting topic because, you know, people like us, we go and do a really hard workout and we'll post a gym picture. Like, you really, really feel accomplished. We're not posting a picture of us because it's a thirst trap. Like, no, like I literally achieved something really, really hard right now. Do you see this pump here? It was hard to get to. So it's kind of like that sense of accomplishment. Like, man, I've done it. And for me, you know, the thing with bodybuilders, you do have to take progress photos. Now, you don't have to post all of them on the internet, right? But it's very, very important for anyone starting any fitness journey. I always say this, your first, you know, check-in photo will not be like your 5-10 years down the road check-in photo, but do take it. I beg you to take it because that's the only best way for you to manage and see your progress. I actually am kind of sad and pissed at myself because I didn't do those check-in photos in the beginning. Like when I first started on this really intentional fitness journey in 2018, this was like after I had my daughter, like my body was kind of like not what it used to be. And I got so tired of being tired. That was my biggest thing for me. It's like, I'm constantly tired. Like my mental capacity is in this constant fog. And I'm tired of that. You know, sometimes you have to come to hit that wall to say, you know, I'm done with this. Like we have to make a change, you know? And for many people, that means, you know, a diagnosis. For many people, that might be like they've gained so much weight that they can't even move, you know. And yes, now we have all the GLPs and the peptides and we have some extra help. But I'm not even against it. You know what? If that helps you to get off the couch, to start moving, to start doing walks, to start getting into the gym, because before it was hard even to pick up something off the floor, you know, for all means, use it, but don't forget the strength training that is required. Don't forget the other fundamentals. Nutrition is required. Recovery is required. Yes, strength training, I keep saying that, and I will never stop saying that because especially as we age, we keep losing muscle mass. You know, protein intake. Make sure you eat your protein,
Yeah.
whatever that might be, just make sure you do it. Those are fundamentals, because if you're just trying the shortcut and you're
Oh my
trying to
gosh.
get there
Oh my
the
gosh.
fastest, easiest way possible, you're going to find yourself into this cycle again and again
Yeah.
and again. And you might come to a point where you're going to be tired of being tired of doing the same thing and expecting different results. I mean, that's basically the definition of
It is the
insanity.
definition of insanity. And what I find, first of all, I would truly like, to thank you, because I think that I've only scratched the surface of what you've accomplished and done. And when I read your biography, it looked like nothing short of like a movie, right? Because it really.
I am writing my
I was
memoir,
about to say,
Rashad.
because
So,
of course,
anything,
right? Yeah.
I certainly invite anyone that is curious about this roller coaster life that I've lived so far. It's not so much about, oh yeah, I had this hard life and I came out of Romania and I went through, communism, and I was sent to buy bread at 5 a.m. in the morning when I was 5. And no, it's more about, the ability to go beyond your circumstances, whatever that is, and dream big and go after that.
Absolutely.
And be patient with the process, but stay in the process. Don't just like skip things because they're hard.
Right.
Be okay with hard. Hard is growth.
Right.
Hard teaches you good lessons.
And just and for anybody who thinks that a podcast is easy, like, no, it's not. It's
no, it's not. Oh my gosh, let's not even get into that, right?
Like, listen, it's crazy. But I want to circle back before.
It's a mindset. It's a mindset shift. If you committed to it and there's so many benefits to it, it's kind of like going to the gym, right? You committed to feeling better, to feeling full of energy, to looking better, all of those things. Then you will go through the process, but you have to really commit to it. Right. And podcasting is no different, because let me tell you, the behind the scenes, the editing, the marketing, the pre-production work, the post-production work, that's a lot of work.
It is. And, and one thing that we get this show is to show people the benefits of hard work, because people's hard work pays off. And that's why I get guests like you on here telling your story. It's not about me. It's about the person that's willing to share it with us. And I want to personally thank you, because I know that I can't be lazy around somebody like yourself. You know what I mean? That's not going to happen. Just being totally honest with it.
Well, I will definitely kick you into action. Don't you worry, Rashad.
I appreciate you. And so, I think now, I have some things nutrition-wise to work. So whatever I was about to eat, I'm going to chuck away, because...
What are your macros, Rashad? What are your macros?
I know. And like I said, I'm 43 myself, and I really would love to do a part 2, because I think that I would, I would love to be a guest on your show, whatever capacity I could be.
Absolutely.
Even if I'm just going to be a bumbling idiot. But thank you.
No, I think there's definitely room for both of those things. And I really want to thank you for creating the platform and the opportunity for me and other guests to be able to come on and share their journey. And for everyone that's tuning this far, thank you. I mean, this is a long time to be tuning in.
I don't ever want my guests to feel unwelcome when they're telling their story. So it's not I'm not that dude that's going to be like, clock. I don't do that. I really come on, man. Like,
that's good. That's why I feel so easy to talk to you.
I'm not that kind of person. Like, you took time out of your schedule. So I want to wish you nothing but the best. And I would love to be able to pick your brain on a further part 2, because I think I would love to be able to get into some more nuances, because this was fun. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was an honor and an absolute